Hello and welcome to Voices of Maximilian Globus, the podcast where we explore the people, ideas, and innovations shaping the future of global excellence. I'm your host, Dennis, and I'm proud to be part of the Maximilian Globus family, a company that thrives on connection, ambition, and impact. Each episode will dive into inspiring conversations with team members, leaders, partners, and visionaries from across our global network. Whether you're tuning in from one of our offices or simply curious about what drives us forward, this is your behind-the-scenes look at the culture, values, and creativity that fuel Maximilian Globus. So sit back, plug in, and let's explore what makes Maximilian Globus more than just a company, but a movement powered by people. Today we're diving into one of the most transformative skills you can develop: setting healthy boundaries. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by other people's demands, struggled to say no without guilt, or found yourself constantly managing other people's emotions, this episode is for you. We're going to explore why boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential, and give you practical tools to start implementing them today. Let's start by busting the biggest myth about boundaries: that they're mean or selfish. Here's the truth. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're guidelines that help you show up as your best self in relationships. Think of boundaries like the rules of a game. Without rules, there's chaos. With clear rules, everyone knows how to play fairly. When you set boundaries, you're not rejecting people. You're creating a framework for healthier interactions. The real problem isn't that we don't want boundaries. It's that many of us were never taught how to set them. We learned to prioritize everyone else's comfort over our own well-being. But here's what I've discovered. When you don't have boundaries, you're not actually being kind. You're teaching people how to treat you poorly while building resentment inside yourself. Let's talk about the word that makes so many of us break out in a cold sweat: no. Here's a reframe that changed everything for me. Every time you say yes to something you don't want to do, you're saying no to something you do want to do. Your time and energy are finite resources. When you give them away thoughtlessly, you rob yourself of the ability to invest in what truly matters. But how do you say no without feeling like a terrible person? Start with these 3 strategies. First, buy yourself time. You don't need to respond immediately to every request. Try. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. This gives you space to consider whether this aligns with your priorities. Second, offer alternatives when possible. Instead of a flat no, you might say, "I can't take on that project, but I know Sarah has been looking for something like this." Third, remember that no is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify your decision with elaborate explanations. The more you explain, the more you invite negotiation. A simple "that won't work for me" is perfectly acceptable. Now let's talk about managing expectations, both yours and other people's. One of the biggest boundary mistakes people make is assuming others can read their minds. You get frustrated when someone doesn't respect a boundary you never actually communicated. Here's the thing. Unclear expectations lead to unmet expectations, and unmet expectations breed resentment. Start by getting crystal clear on your own limits. What are you willing to do? What absolutely drains you? What time of day are you most available? Once you know your limits, communicate them clearly and consistently. For example, instead of getting annoyed every time your colleague calls after work hours, set the expectation upfront. I'm not available for work, calls after 7 p.m., but I'll respond to urgent emails first thing in the morning. With family and friends, you might say, "I love spending time with you, but I need at least 24 hours notice for social plans. Last-minute invitations stress me out." Remember, managing expectations isn't a one-time conversation. It's an ongoing process. People will test your boundaries. Not necessarily to be malicious, but because they're used to the old version of you. Stay consistent, and most people will adapt. Let's address the elephant in the room. What happens when people don't like your boundaries? First, understand that boundary pushback is normal. When you start setting limits, some people will be confused, frustrated, or even angry. They might say things like, "You've changed," or "You used to be so easygoing." Here's your response. "You're right. I have changed. I'm learning to take better care of myself. Not everyone will celebrate your growth, and that's okay. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, even if it takes them time to adjust. The people who can't respect your boundaries are showing you valuable information about the relationship. Sometimes the pushback will come from your own inner critic. You'll feel guilty, selfish, or worry that you're being too harsh. This is normal. You're rewiring years of conditioning. Be patient with yourself as you learn this new skill. Remember, boundaries aren't about building walls. They're about creating space for your best life to flourish. Start small, be consistent, and trust that the right people will respect your limits. Thanks for hanging out with me today on Up and Personal. If you love this episode, share it with a friend, and I'll catch you next time for more ways to live your best life.